All right, so once again, welcome to class. This is our second lesson, the theory part. So, with the first lesson, we have done or learned about what textile is, the textile design methods that we have, the unit to repeat, how to repeat a design to make a fabric. We have done the theory part of all that. And the second part of the theory is about textile design application. Textile design application. We now know what textile means. We know that textile doesn't mean fabric only. We know. So if we say textile design application, it means that the designs that we do in textiles, how to apply them. Okay. So we want to know what textile art is. So textile art is just the creation of fabric designs by hand. If we say fabric designs, what do we mean? Any design that you can make on fabric to give it value or beauty. Okay, additional value or beauty is called fabric design. All right, but this is an art, so this one is by hand. All right, so it includes embroidery, knitting, beadwork, needlepoint, all right, and more, but these are the ones we'll be concentrating on. So let's look at some of the textile design application. We have embroidery, weaving, and knitting. Now, what is embroidery? I think in one of our lessons we discussed what embroidery, the difference between embroidery and applique, true or false. We did. So we know what embroidery is. The picture here is even clear, showing us um, an embroidered fabric, okay, on an embroidery frame. This round thing is called embroidery frame, right? So the thread used in embroidery is called stranded cotton. Someone said embroidery thread. Yes, I will accept it. When you go to the market and you want to buy, if you go and mention stranded cotton now, it is not all the market women who know this name. So embroidery thread, I will accept it. Or stranded cotton. Okay, so they come in several colors and then you use for the embroidery. Right. So embroidery is a technique where decorative stitches, or let me even explain it. So you have your fabric just like the white one here, and then you get your design, the design you want to fill in with your thread. You transfer your first of all, you have your embroidery frame, and then you insert your fabric into the embroidery frame and tighten it. This is to stretch the fabric for you so that if you make your embroidery designs, they will lie flat on the fabric. If the fabric is in its loose state like that and you do it, it may not come out properly, or it may not, I don't want to use the term stretch, it will sag. Yeah. So after putting the fabric into the embroidery frame, you tighten it and it will stretch on its own. We'll be doing that. And then you transfer your designs onto the embroidery frame. But the best thing to do first is to transfer your design onto the fabric before you insert it into the embroidery frame, and then you stretch it so that the surface will be free from creases. The surface will be free from creases or any folds. Then you can start with your embroidery thread and embroidery needle. If you look at your needle set, the needle set, all the needles have what they are supposed to be used for. The biggest one in the middle is the one that is called embroidery needle. Why? Because the stranded cotton doesn't come in one yarn. Even the sewing thread doesn't come in one yarn, it is twisted, but the embroidery thread has a lot of yarns arranged, and you need a certain thickness to do your work. So you need a needle that has a bigger eye to be able to take your thread. So that particular needle is used for embroidery. Are we okay? Then So now we all already know what embroidery is. Truth is, we are supposed to do it. Weaving. This is a method of textile production in which two different sets of thread, usually called the warp and the weft, are interlaced at right angles to each other. So we have done basics of textile. We know which one is the warp thread, which one is the weft thread. True or false? True or false? True or false? So you interlace. If you interlace, it's simple. It means one thread up, one beneath, up, down movement, and then you weave. So maybe we'll be doing a small weaving or something like that. Okay. Then knitting. Knitting. Knitting, we have crocheting as well. Crocheting uses only one hook, okay, in constructing the crocheting product. But knitting uses two needles, as you can see over here. It uses two needles. And with knitting, you realize that the weaves are more compact, they are more closely put together than crocheting. Crocheting is more porous, like you can see the holes are more bigger or more visible than a knitted fabric. We have, I don't know, I have a dress I've been wearing with stripes. It's white and wine and some black. That is a knitted garment. It stretches. For knitted clothing and crocheted ones, they have a little bit of stretchability. All right, so that is the difference between the knitting and the crocheting. Then we have a digital design. Digital design. This involves using softwares to create a design which can be printed onto fabric using a digital printer. This technique allows, there's something missing there, it allows for a greater design. I'll be adding it. Now, this fabric here is designed on the computer. You design on the computer, then you add your colors to the computer. There are so many softwares that have been designed for this purpose. However, you can also use Adobe Illustrator to create your fabric and add your colors to it on the computer. Then, with the image I have here, you realize that the person rendered the garment on, I'll say, a mannequin on the computer. You can see he rendered the fabric on the mannequin on the computer. All this can be done digitally, but for the purpose of this class, let's assume we have designed this fabric. Okay, so the next thing is that you issue your command into your printing machine and add the colors to the ink jets on the machine. So once you issue the command, it's assumed that you have already laid your fabric through the machine and all that. So the machine is going to print your design for you, following the commands you have given it and the colors you have introduced on your work on the computer. It's just like the way you connect your computer to your printer. So whatever you have on the computer is what the printer will print for you in colors. Do you understand? Yes, it's the same way that it works for fabric also. Now we have hand drawing. Hand drawing. It involves creating a design by hand, okay, using pencil, ink, or paint on paper. So this technique can be used to create intricate and detailed design. There are so many things. So intricate and detailed design. This one we'll be doing unit repeats. So by the end of the day, we would have done hand drawing over there. Are we okay? So we'll be doing this in our sketch pads. Then we have needle point. Needle point. This is also known as canvas work. What is canvas? What is canvas? Canvas, we are not talking about the footwear canvas. It is a material or a surface or a plane that artists use to draw. They draw on the canvas. They draw in paint on the canvas. It looks like a bit of a fabric. Uh-huh. Okay, I will type. Okay, so don't worry. I will introduce. I will type canvas here, and then you see. But remember, if you are checking, I taught you how to check for images, right? Well, so you go to images, and then you don't just go and type canvas. It will bring you the canvas you were thinking about. So you can even write artist canvas, and let's see what it gives us. If it doesn't give us what we want, okay, so artist canvas, canvas painting. Now, because we have added painting, so let's just limit it to canvas. Right. So we it may not be clear here, but at least you have an idea of what I mean. So this ones they've mounted the canvas, okay? This one like this is canvas. It's just plain, like white and off white. Okay, this is an example. See, canvas, but you stretch it. You stretch it on a frame or on a board before you start painting. Okay, so that is how canvas looks like. That is how canvas. Let me scroll and see if I'll get another. Okay, so I think this is clearer. So this is canvas for your painting. So it is a plane or a material. Don't confuse. I didn't say fabric. It's a material for painting. Are we okay? Yes. So that is canvas. All right. So let's go back to. So, also known as canvas work, is a type of embroidery in which different stitches are embroidered usually using yarn onto a rigid open weave canvas, resulting in several stitches that come together to form a larger pattern or image. So you see this canvas, look at this canvas properly. It is porous. It's square, 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 and the holes are visible. They are big, quite big, and you can see. In this kind of art, the stitching is made hole by hole. So when you move from one hole, you move to the next hole. You don't just stitch like the way we normally stitch on fabric. Fabric, we don't consider any hole. We are just considering the length of our stitch and we move. But with this one, you are going to consider the holes because you are actually going to do that same embroidery art, but it's going to follow a certain calculation per the design you are working with. There's when you watch, there are certain movies when you eye for what's it's an old art that the Western countries they appreciate it. They can make a whole picture like let's say us here we've taken a picture we are in this class and then we just took a picture. They can still use that picture and create this needle point work. Uh, there's a common name for it. I've forgotten that. When I mention it, you remember that you have been seeing it in movies or some other video. So when that needle point is done, usually for them they hang it. They hang it in their rooms. It is like a memory for them. Okay. So if I remember the name, I'll mention it. All right, then we have, but it is a skill that you are supposed to learn. You can't just do it on your own. You have to go through some processes and learn it before you can actually start doing something like that. It's more complicated than just embroidery. Then we have printing. Printing, we know, just that with printing, we have so many methods of printing. Okay, so printing is transferring color and patterns or design onto a fabric. Okay. Now, one way of printing is through stenciling, where you have your designs on paper or usually on transparency. On transparency. So you put your design on transparency and then you cut out the negative areas and leave the areas you want on your design. Are we okay? Yes, so that is stenciling. So as you can see, the person is now dabbing using a foam. The person dips the foam into the color and then dabs on the design to transfer the design onto the fabric or paper. It depends on what you are working on. It could be leather too. So then we have block printing, where you put your design on a block. By now you understand what a block is. I've explained block. So this person has done his on looks like wood over here. So you dip your block into your fabric ink or paint or paste and then you print on your fabric. Then another way is using the roller. If you check this roller, there are two. One has designs, one is plain. So depending on what you are doing, then you buy or design your roller accordingly. We have rollers, already made rollers with designs. If you think you need or you like any of them, you can buy. Fine. Or you can also buy the plain one and put your own design on it if you think you'll be comfortable with that, or you can do it and your designs will be very intricate and sharp, because if it is a straight line, it has to be sharp like that. So you roll your roller in the ink or fabric ink or paint that you want to use, and then you roll it over your fabric to print the design for you. So as you can see, the design has been transferred onto the fabric below in this picture. Then the last one we have here is screen printing, which you definitely do, not in this lesson, but in the next lessons to come. So it involves the using of a screen on which designs have already been transferred, and then you use your squeegee and printing paste or ink, and then you print your designs on this fabric or any textile products you want to print your thing on. So these are the the textile arts that we'll be doing. We may not do all, some, because we also have the unit repeats to do. Okay, yeah, and so I also mentioned that aside the unit repeats, we will be painting fabrics. We'll get sample fabrics and paint the same thing, like the same kind of fabric. Like this fabric that you have here in black and white. You cut a piece and you paint the same thing in your sketch pad. So after we do the unit repeats, that is the next thing that we are going to do. So get ready for that. So over here, we are going to create varieties of textile design applications, which means that the practical starts from here. So in our next lesson, it will be practical till thy kingdom come. Any questions? Any questions pertaining to what we have learned in the class? We are okay. Okay, so are we going to create? Yes, you are going to create your own design. You need to be creative. You need to develop a motive, a design. We don't want you to just go and copy and dab somebody's design. You are a textile designer. So a textile designer is supposed to create something new. So you have to get a unique motive. It's a process that you'll be going through. And then you design, and then I'll guide you to do the repeats in your sketch pads. This is essential because when we start doing printing itself, and you don't have a prerequisite knowledge of this repeat unit repeat, it will be difficult for you to design your fabric at that point. Are we okay? So this class is giving you this thing to design, know how to design fabric, because your next you would actually print the fabrics and do other textile design applications on a large scale. Okay. All right. So thanks for watching.